My goodness, my goodness, my goodness, my friends! How are you? How are you? How you been? It's been crazy. I've been traveling nuts. Do you ever notice how many podcasts I start off talking to you guys, talking about how I've been traveling nonstop? And here's the worst part, okay? So, yeah, I've been traveling nonstop. Today's guest, and I'm not going to give it away yet. I'm not going to give it away. If you hear, I'll give you a hint. It's a he, not a she. If you hear him laughing in the background until we bring him on, it's just the normal. It's like you guys laugh at me, he's going to laugh at me too. But my point being, this guy has been way busier than I have, and I think I've been crazy. If you haven't figured out the formula by now, we are the title sponsors of Outbound, and like a good marketer, like the good little marketer that I am, I completely use that as an excuse to go and get every single one of the 18 speakers who are going to be there, who are world-class speakers. I mean, truly, yes, we're the sponsor of the event, but guys and gals, there's a reason we're a sponsor of this event. This is the event to sponsor because of the quality of the speakers. No pitching over and over again. So I have the good marketer in me says, every single one of you are going to be on my damn podcast because you're awesome. And then we can promote the show and we can promote you and all. But most of all, and this is truth, I can get your wisdom out there to my audience because my audience I love. And getting him on the show was an exercise and a half. Let's go with that. Not because he doesn't like me. It's a good possibility he doesn't. But because he's actually been on our webinars and stuff before. I'll give you a hint. He was in a debate with Benjamin Dennehy. That's all I'm going to say for now. You see if you can figure it out. And because he's nuts. He is literally traveling the world. I believe where he is right now, full disclosure, it's around 1:30 p.m. Eastern time where I'm recording, and it's probably about 5:30 a.m. where he is. So he got up super freaking early just for this podcast, okay? So it's tomorrow where he is. He's already heard this podcast. So that's how crazy it is. And so why does that matter beyond me telling you that I'm busy, but he's busier, and me whining that getting him on this show has been a pursuit? Well, it matters for a couple things. One, I wanted to close the deal. I wanted him on my show for you. So I had to pursue him, right? And when I pursued him, I had to use a cadence of outreach, a frequency, because he wasn't responding on a regular basis because of his travel schedules. The reason he wasn't responding was half time he was in the air, he was asleep. I had to use phone. I had to use email. I had to use social like you wouldn't believe. I had to use storytelling. I had to use guilt, a little bit of guilt. I had to say, my friend, you are now officially the last one in the recording session. Are you ever going to come? I had to reduce the friction by saying, instead of going this back and forth and saying, well, I'm free next Tuesday, or I'm free next Wednesday, or at this time or this time. I just sent him a link and said, you pick a time. This is an access to my calendar. I don't care if it's midnight my time. I will come into the studio. I will record with you. I want you. I don't want to be going to Outbound and they're saying, yeah, we had everybody on except this one. I wanted them all. So we got him here. That's the exciting point. But it was a cadence. And it really brought me back a little bit to, when I was actively selling all the time. And the one thing I struggled with, well, it's probably two things. I struggled with time management. Candidly, I am easy. You ask anybody I work with, I am so distracted by the shiny things. So time management, and we've talked about this before. We've had a podcast specifically on time management, blocking off your calendar, committing to certain, that is, you cannot violate that. And that's because that's what I needed. So time management, I sucked at. And the other part I sucked at was I mentioned cadence, the cadence of getting your guests on, cadence of pursuing the deal. I actually sucked at cadence. I sucked at mixing it up. I would just relentlessly, or periodically, use one channel. There was no rhyme or reason to the rhythm of what I would do. So imagine, because life is so funny. Life is so funny. You just never know what's going to happen tomorrow or the day after. So imagine in mid, 2017 when a recruiter comes knocking on the door and he says, Darryl, I've got this sales engagement company who's got a killer platform around cadences and playbooks and sequences. And I'm like, bam! Who says God doesn't have a sense of humor? Because if anybody needs to use this technology, it's me. And I know I need to use it. I understand the power. I understand why you'd want to use it, and maybe find I can use this technology, in this case VanillaSoft, to manage my own cadences of outreach. Oh my gosh, can you guys relate to that? The whole cadence thing, the whole outreach, shiny objects, time management. I am still not good at that. I tell people, I was on a call this morning with a customer, not a sales prospect, a customer, and she was like, you said you were going to do this case study with me, and I never heard back from you. And I'm like, oh, my travel schedule. I'm sorry. I talked a week ago with so-and-so internally about getting you written up, and we're going to do it. And I said, you need to know, I suck at this, so you have permission to chase me. Don't worry about offending me. She's like, okay, I'll do that. And I said, great. That's how bad I am at cadence. So with that, I thought it was high time we got a cadence rock star on here, which is kind of funny that we're at VanillaSoft. So I did. And you know where I found him? I finally found him at home in Melbourne, Australia. Please welcome to the show, Luigi Prestinenzi, my good friend Luigi. How are you, my friend?
For chasing me and putting me into your outreach cadence, because I know I've been difficult to catch. Travel schedule has been hectic, so I'm super excited about coming on your podcast and talking all things sales and cadence.
What I love about having guests like Luigi on, beyond the fact that he's at the Outbound conference, he's a rock star. Quick question. Have you presented there before? I've never been to the show. It's my first year. Have you presented there before, or is this your first year?
So I was a delegate. I went as a participant last year. I flew. I did the whole, going from Australia to Atlanta is not a short trip.
No.
It's probably a 20-odd hour, exercise. And so I made that journey, and it was the best sales conference I've ever been to. With just all the sales professionals wanting to engage and absorb such incredible content. Anthony and Victor and co, did they deliver, because it was an exceptional experience. And so, really humbled that I'm able to share that experience with so many of the authors that are sitting behind me that I've learned so much from.
So think about that, folks. I'm going to set the stage here a little bit. So what he just said has a lot of context for you. Luigi is the host of the Sales IQ podcast. All right. So he lives and breathes it. He's the co-founder of Sales IQ Global. It's an e-learning and a sales enablement platform that is crazy. It incorporates methodologies and frameworks and tools and templates and content, all designed to assist in effective sales and account management, with the sole intent of improving your skills and your results and making you guys rock stars at what you do. So this is what he does, and this is why he's so in demand. It's all about sales enablement, sales consulting, sales training. I set the stage for that because what did he just tell you? He said he flew 20 plus hours to go be a student to learn from other people. So the best in the business never stop learning. They park their ego. They don't pretend to have all the answers. And even though the reason he's been hard to get a hold of is because he's been busy with customers and just, the business is booming, he still made time to go do this. And this is what you should be doing as well. So that's my little sidebar rant. Please go do that. In the meantime, if you're at a computer where you're listening to this, go to salesiqglobal.com, check out the company, download other content, resources, send him a personal contact us request on the forum. He said, Darryl says, hey, whatever you want to do that. I want to come back to you, my friend. You're passionate about a couple things. I know you're passionate about mindset, and we've covered that a couple times in the last little while. Yep. But you're also passionate about cadence. So why is this a passion for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's funny. When I first started my career, we were running Cadence. I mean, we didn't have the pleasure of social and a platform that gave you their name and number, and so you had to really call up. There's only a couple of ways, right? There was mail or door knocking or picking up the phone and saying, hey, I want to speak to the person responsible for X. Now, we were all running it. Everybody, Cadence is not a new, it's not a new thing. It's, for successful salespeople, from the greatest man, Og Mandino, the greatest salesperson in the world, it's something that the high performers would always do. I suppose it's become a term that's quite known in the last couple of years. But why did I become passionate about it? I'll tell you why I became passionate about it. Because without having some form of cadence, your pipeline activity is not there. And if you look at, what makes a successful sales professional, it's not the closing component. It's not what they do at the end of the sales process. It's the open. And it's the pipeline. And I will always come back to that. Successful sales professionals get two things right. It's the way they show up, it's their attitude, it's their mindset, and it's their pipeline. It's the way they manage their pipeline. The only way you can ensure that every month you don't just hit quota, but you exceed, is by having enough pipeline activity. And that comes from running enough cadences and having the right sequence and having the right activity and having the right energy to ensure your pipeline is full.
That was one of the first lessons I personally experienced and learned in selling. Was you would build up your activity, right? And you get the pipeline building up, and now you're working the pipeline. Of course, in those days, I was both sales development rep and account exec. I did everything, right? The models were different back then. And then all of a sudden you're busy trying to close business and you don't have time to go continue to feed the pipeline. So for 3 months, you're busy as hell. You're knocking it down. You're closing deals. Life is good. You're counting your money. And all of a sudden one day you go to work and you realize, my deals are done and I got nothing, which means I'm going to take another 3 months to build a pipeline. So I'm going to be, living on craft dinner for 3 months and, ramen noodles until I get back to that point. And I learned the hard way that your cadence was essential if you wanted to make sure that you were always going to be able to feed yourself and hit your quotas and keep your job.
Absolutely. And what, it really hit me hard in 2012. It was December 2012. And I had what I thought was a huge pipeline. I was going into Christmas. So I had insane deals closing, they were closing. And then one by one, Darryl, they all said, we'll do it after Christmas, not the right time. Something else has become a priority. And then before I knew it, my pipeline just got dry. And I went to Christmas not meeting target, in a lot of trouble, thinking, holy crap, what am I going to do? And you know what I did for the first week of my Christmas holiday? Was jump on job boards looking for another job, thinking maybe sales is not for me, right? It wasn't until I made that decision, coming back to work, to say, no, what will happen if I change jobs? Well, if I don't change my mindset and my thinking about driving pipeline activity, I'm going to be in the same position in 6 months' time, right? So I made that decision to be obsessed with filling my pipeline, being manic. And I used that word, be manic. Have so much goddamn activity that it doesn't matter if somebody doesn't close today. And as Tony Hughes talks about it, opening is the new closing. So the more we open, the more we feed it, the more activity we do, ensures that, we're never having to stress about that one deal.
One of the things that jumps out at me is I find a lot of people want to do this, but when they go to start, they don't know where to start, or they don't know how to do it, or they're just kind of like, paralysis by analysis. So if I want to actually have an effective cadence, so I can feed the pipeline and not have to surf the job boards where I'll just have to, repeat the same mistake, where do I start?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you know what? For any SDR, for any inside sales professional, doesn't matter if you're new or you've been doing this for a number of years, the key to running any cadence is you got to get the fundamentals right. You've got to know your ICP, your ideal customer, profile, and your buyer persona. Now you might be going, Jesus, that's a lot of work. No, it's not. If we don't know our customers, if we don't know our prospects and what a day in the life of our prospect looks like, and the buyer personas that we need to engage in that prospect, then how the hell are we able to serve up content that's going to compel them to take action and engage with us? And so the very first thing we need to do before we make any level of activity, we need to understand our buyer. Because if we don't understand our buyer, what we are doing, we're serving our own need. engaging with them because we want to fill our pipeline. It's not about us. It's about helping our customer achieve a better state. And if we don't understand, what impacts them, what is preventing them, what industry issues that they have, then we are not delivering on, what a sales professional is meant to do, which is help serve our customers achieve something better. So the very first thing we need to do, we need to really understand the ideal customer profile and the buyer personas within that profile.
One of the things I tell every sales rep who will listen to me is, to your point, which is really interesting, is I say, stop guessing at the buyer persona and the buyer, the ICP. Just stop it. And there's this really cool thing that they invented a couple years ago. I think it's called a phone. And you pick it up and you can actually get a live connection with your existing customers who like you, and you can say, help me understand your world and what you do and why you use us and all that wonderful stuff. And what did you do before and what did you do now? Get in their heads and extract every morsel of information you can, and make a habit of doing this. Like, you could do like one a week, just one a week. Bingo, 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 bingo. And circle back 6 months later to the guy you talked to 6 months ago, and do it again if you want to, because you're going to get something new every single time. And that gives you a real understanding of your buyer, but also gives you stories that open the cadence with new prospects, which is what everybody loves, storytelling.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'm going to stop there for a second. I'm going to go and tease everybody to say, when we come back, Luigi made a comment in the green room before we went live, and it went along the lines of, have the balls to. I'm going to stop it there. We're going to have a little fun with the commercial. And when we come back, you're going to say, okay, I went through your damn commercial. Have the balls to what, Prail? So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, everybody's like, they probably didn't hear the commercial at all because they just want to know, have the balls to what? So Luigi, I know my ICP, I know my buyer persona, now I need to have the balls to
pick up the phone.
Okay, so why do you say that, have the balls to? I mean, I know why I think you're saying it, but I want to hear from you why you describe it so beautifully, by the way. I love that statement. Why do you say that?
Well, because, I often, and I'm not, I'm a guy in what I do, for those who don't know me, is I get in there, I'm in sales teams. I'm in, if it's an insider, if it's an SDR, if it's a marketing response team, I'm there, I'm taking calls, I'm on the phone, right? The best way for me to learn how I can help sales professionals is do what they do, right? So, and one of the challenges I see is so many people create all this extra activity outside of picking up the damn phone. And I'm so passionate about it. It's saying, yes, you can warm them up on social. Everybody says, you've got to use social to engage with your prospect and all that crap. But if you don't actually get them into a conversation, your ability to influence and take them into the pipeline is zero. And so we know that the phone cuts through. Now, there should not be a reason that you don't pick up the phone. We have, and Darryl, I mean, I'm not that old. We're not that old, right? But back in the day, we couldn't get cell phone numbers. It was very difficult. We live in a world, right? We live in a world where we can actually get somebody's cell phone number online. We can get their cell phone number, their email address. So what is stopping us from engaging with them, right? So the first thing I tell sales is stop everything else. Stop emailing. Just pick up the phone. And if they don't answer, then send them something. And then do it again, and do it again, and do it again, until you get a point of engagement. And people say, but I don't want to call them, every day, or I don't want to send them a message every day because that's harassing them. And my response to that, Darryl, is how many notifications, how many emails do you get every single day? And is it because they're ignoring us, or is it just because they're being saturated with so many different messages they just don't see our communication? I mean, it happened between me and you. I mean, we're great mates. For everybody that doesn't know, Darryl's been on my podcast, and it didn't work well, so we have to do it again. But big fan of it. Did it was user stupidity error from my part. But Darryl, I'm a big fan of what Darryl's about, and it wasn't that I was ignoring him. It was that my LinkedIn messages are just insane.
Life got busy.
You've got email.
Yes.
You've got WhatsApp, and then I've got a client that uses Slack, and then I've got Teams, and then I've got text message. Mate, you're blowing up with how much messages that are coming through. So this is the life our customers. This is the life of our. Same thing is impacting our prospects. So if we do not have the courage to pick up the phone, then we shouldn't expect to have a healthy, robust pipeline.
All right. So I love that you're saying that. And I love that the Cadence conversation so far hasn't gone into, what's the right playbook? Is it 7 touches in 7 days and how many channels? It's just what Luigi's saying is at its essence. It's just about using a Nike tagline. Just do it. Just figure out your ICP and your persona. Just know you've got to hit them relentlessly. Just have the balls to pick up the phone. You also talked about the fact that, you had, maybe you weren't back in 2012, for example. Maybe you weren't holding yourself accountable.
Yeah.
I see so many people talk a good game, but allow themselves, like me, remember I said I had shiny object syndrome, to get distracted. So how do we ensure that doesn't happen? I'm going to guess the answer is, well, mate, it's up to you to hold yourself accountable. You're a big boy. But, I mean, how do you do it? What do you tell your clients?
Well, you just got to, when it comes to holding yourself accountable, you just got to get it done. You can set KPIs, you can set performance metrics, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to get it done, you will never get it done. And one of the guys that I've been coaching for 2 years, and when I started coaching him, Darryl, he was on the brink of getting fired. And I'm going to send it. He's actually coming to Outbound, by the way. And he was on the brink of performance. He was getting performance managed, and he said, "Oh, Luigi, I don't know what's happening, and I'm doing everything I need to, and I'm doing everything you tell me." And I looked at him straight in the eyes, and I said, "Okay, let's look at the data." And off we took the information off the dialer, and what did we find? His talk time was non-existent, and his calls per day were basically not even half of what he was meant to be doing. So my question to him was, are you doing enough to get your pipe to a point of success? You can tell me what you want to tell. If you want to, you can tell me what you want to hear, or you can actually look and make a decision that you're going to change. And you know what? He said, I'm going to make a decision to change. I'm not doing enough. Long behold, 4 months later, number one. He's number one in his team and absolutely smashing it. Not because of the skills that I helped him build, because he made the decision to do the activity, right? And so for me, it's saying, well, no one can make you do something if you don't want to do it. So you have to make the decision to get the job done.
Okay. So you're right. And let me explain for the audience what I've done in those situations. Because I know me. Part of holding yourself accountable, this is a big part, I think, me personally, and it probably makes sense because I got a feeling it ties back to Luigi's passion for mindset, is I recognize I'm self-aware. I'm self-aware of my weaknesses. So when I've had to do stuff like this, I get myself an accountability partner. Somebody who's actually going to check in on me, not unlike Luigi's doing for his client. A coach does this, but it could be a colleague. It could be your spouse. I don't give a shit who it is. Find yourself an accountability partner who will hold you accountable, not judge you, but ask those hard questions. And it's a safe environment. And by the way, usually it's reciprocal. You are also holding them accountable. Yep. That's what makes it work. So that's one thing. Now, Luigi.
Absolutely.
I've said multiple times, I have shiny object syndrome. I'm not alone though. So for that rep who gets distracted, accountability is one thing.
Yeah.
I get it, but how do we stop from being distracted? What have you seen work?
Well, this might sound very basic, right? But turn the friggin' notifications off on your phone. I don't have notifications on my phone because I'm like you, man. I'm like, send me AD bloody D. If something comes up, I'm looking, right? So turn the notifications off on your phone. Turn the notifications off on your laptop, right? Make sure you time block. So put things into your calendar. So if you actually need to make, Jeb Blunt says, block an hour a day. If you have to do that, put it into your calendar. Plan it like you are seeing a customer. Plan your day like a professional does. At key times when you'll respond to email, get in early so that you can. So just in order to get the best outcome, is you've got to plan for it, right? So turn notifications off. There's a customer that I'm working with, and he's got a sign on the back of his chair that says, "Leave me, I'm dialing." Right? Too busy, I'm dialing. And people know not to talk to him during that time because he's really focused. Okay. So there are little hacks that you can implement that's going to help you, stay focused.
So I talked already about time blocking, and it really was for me a lot of what Luigi just said. When I closed everything else, I put my phone and my tablet and my watch on do not disturb, so I didn't have any notifications. And by the way, here's the beauty: like on your phone, my phone, if my wife calls, it will go past. It'll ignore the do not disturb the way it's set up because she's a priority, and I'll get that call. So I'm not abandoning the important people in my life, but I'm getting rid of the noise. I shut the door. I do everything I need to do to have the right environment. I just get it done. Because if I have notifications, like I'm obsessed with inbox zero. So an email comes in, I got to do it because it's there now. And I'm obsessed with social media because I do so much of my interactions that way. So someone comments on something I'm tagged in, well, I got to go check it out because what if they're trash talking me? And I got to give them what for. So by turning that all off, you just get shit done. And what's beautiful about that is that when you're done getting shit done and you feel good because you held yourself accountable, it's still there for you to catch up on. The emails you can now do, the social you can now do. Go to the water cooler, talk to the guys. Whatever you want to do, I don't care. Now, you have one more thing you said in the green room that I want to give you a chance to close the show out. Your final 30 seconds.
Yep.
You use the terms be obsessed. What does that mean?
Yep. Look, being obsessed, it's about really, just like an elite athlete, it's something that you do every single day. And it's about looking, you've got to continue to drive your cadence every day, because what's incredibly awesome about running cadences is you're sending different messages across different channels. And you can actually have a look, and this is what I love about John Barrows, and he's coming up on your webinar, Darryl, the famous, JB, is he talks, if he could go back in time, he would test. He would look at the different messages and look at, continue to test and review and see what's working. So that's why you've got to be relentlessly focused. You've got to be obsessed, and you've got to take the opportunity to execute and review. Because if you do that, and it's a task that you do every single day, you'll never have to worry about pipeline fatigue or having an anorexic pipeline, or what I call pipeline-itis.
I like it. Pipeline-itis. You heard it here, folks. Pipeline-itis. As for Jay Barrows, Mr. John Barrows, I was just with him 2 days ago at a workshop he and I were at together, up on sharing the stage, and we got talking about cadences. And one of the things that I brought up, which because I'm surprised he didn't bring it up first, was testing. And as soon as I brought it up, he was like, "Oh yeah, you got to test. You got to continually." Like he was all over testing. So you're 100% right. John is a rock star. Okay, we're out of time. We're probably beyond time, but it was a good time. So it's all about the right time. Now's the right time to say if they want to learn anything more about you and follow you and all that cool stuff, what's the best way?
Please come and subscribe to my podcast, Sales IQ Podcast. We have some insane guests, including Darryl, coming up. We also have the famous Seth Godin coming up. And, I flew 26 hours to go and interview Seth. It's a long journey to go and see him in New York. So Sales IQ podcast, which is on salesiqglobal.com. Also connect with me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. Hit me up. Tell me what you love about Darryl. Tell me what you hate about Darryl, and I won't tell him. It'll just be between me and you. So that's where you can find me, Darryl.
And be obsessed when you tell him what you hate about me. Be relentless and just it'll have the balls to say it. So there we go. With that, we're done, folks. Another week has gone by. I hope you've had fun today listening to the Inside Sales Show. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.